Tattoo artists of Reddit, do you judge people for the tattoos they want to get? If so, what was the one you really thought was stupid? I try not to judge, but after 8 years in this industry, I've seen some questionable decisions. This one almost broke me though. Guy walks in on a Tuesday afternoon, mid-20s, dressed normal, doesn't look drunk or high. He sits down and pulls up his sleeve to show me a name tattooed on his forearm in pretty decent script. Says he wants it covered. I'm thinking, okay, standard cover-up job. I start showing him some designs that would work. Flowers, geometric patterns, a phoenix rising from the ashes. You know, the symbolic rebirth stuff people love. He stops me and says, no, I want a black rectangle. Just a solid black box covering the name. I laughed because I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking. I asked if he was sure because that's going to look like a prison cover-up or a censored photo. He said that's exactly what I want. The name was his ex-girlfriend. They dated for 8 months total. He got her name tattooed 6 months in because she kept hinting about commitment and he wanted to prove he was serious. 3 weeks after the tattoo, they had a massive fight over something stupid and she left him. Pretty standard story, right? But here's where it gets weird. I suggested laser removal. Takes longer, but you end up with clean skin. He said, no, I specifically want people to see that I made a mistake. Like a permanent reminder of my stupidity that I have to look at every single day. I tried talking him out of it for 20 minutes. Showed him beautiful cover-up designs. Explained how a solid black rectangle would limit future options. Told him he'd regret having what looks like a redacted government document on his arm forever. He wouldn't budge. Said he'd already been to 2 other shops and they both refused to do it. I should have been the 3rd, but he was sober. Over 18. Insisted he'd thought about it for weeks, so I did it. Watching that black rectangle go over her name felt wrong. Like I was helping him make the worst decision of his life. It took 40 minutes and the whole time I kept hoping he'd tell me to stop. He paid, tipped well, left without saying much. I figured that was the end of it. Just another story about a guy who'd hate his tattoo in 6 months and blame me for not stopping him. 2 months later, he walks back in. I recognized him immediately because of that black rectangle peeking out from under his sleeve. He sits down and I'm thinking he wants it removed. Maybe wants me to turn it into something else. I'm already planning how to fix my mistake. Then he says I want Sienna's name tattooed right here. Points to the spot right next to the black box. I said, wait, you want your ex-girlfriend's name? The same one I just covered up? He starts laughing. Says actually, we got back together and she thinks this is hilarious. Turns out after the breakup, he'd been miserable. Realized she was the one. All that typical stuff. But she'd moved on fast. Started seeing someone else. Wouldn't return his calls or texts. Then one day, about 6 weeks after the black rectangle, he ran into her at a coffee shop. She noticed the black box immediately and asked what the hell happened to his arm. He told her the whole story. How he'd gotten it covered because he wanted a permanent reminder that he screwed up the best thing in his life. That he didn't want to erase her name completely or pretend it never happened. He wanted to remember the lesson every time he looked at his arm. She thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. Started laughing so hard she had to sit down. Other people in the coffee shop were staring. She told him any guy willing to walk around with what looks like a censored CIA document on his arm as a reminder of his own stupidity definitely deserved a second chance. They'd been back together for 6 weeks at that point. She came up with the idea to put her name right next to the black box. That way people would see the whole story. The mistake and the redemption right there on his arm side by side. She was actually waiting outside in the parking lot. Came in to approve the placement and the font size. Coolest girl I've ever met. She was wearing a shirt that said, I'm the redacted ex-girlfriend with a black rectangle printed on it. He paid me double what the original tattoo cost. Said it was worth every penny to have the complete story on his arm. I did the tattoo. Put Sienna's name right next to that black rectangle in the exact same script as before. Before they left, he showed me his phone. They'd already booked a wedding venue for next spring. She'd taken like 50 photos of the fresh tattoo. Last I heard through Instagram, they got married last year. He still shows everyone that tattoo at parties. Tells the whole story every time. Uses it as his icebreaker when meeting new people.